Sexual. Some people are straight, and some people are gay. Maybe I'm just sexual. 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 Something for the top, and something for the bottom. But we're all just sexual. Sexual. We're all just sexual. Sexual. Yeah. Hey, we're not in the 60s, but yet we're talking about the same things. So why are we having these same discussions? It's so interesting that you find it fascinating. Who I'm sleeping with and what I'm doing. Why do we all need these labels? Your character is all that matters to me. You shouldn't let ideology and favors make you stop loving family and friends. Some people are straight. Ooh, yeah. Some people are gay. Ooh, yeah. Maybe I'm just sexual. 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 Something for the top. And something for the bottom. But we're all just sexual. Sexual. Just sexual. Some people are straight. Ooh, yeah. Some people are gay. Oh, yeah. Baby, I'm just sexual. Baby, I'm just sexual. Sexual. Ooh, yeah. Something for the top. Something for the top. Something for the bottom. Something for the bottom. But we're all just sexual. Sexual. We're all just sexual. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why do we all need these labels? Is he gay or straight or somewhere in between? Yeah. Don't let ideology and favors make you treat your brother or your sister differently. Yeah. Some people are straight. Some people are straight. Some people are gay. Some people are gay. Maybe I'm just sexual. Maybe I'm just sexual. Sexual. Just sexual. Something for the top. Something for the top. Something for the bottom. Something for the bottom. But we're all just sexual. Sexual. Just sexual. Sexual. Some people are straight. Some people are gay. Some people are gay. Some people are straight. Maybe I'm just sexual. I'm just sexual, baby. Sexual. I don't need a label. Something for the top. Something for the top. Something for the bottom. But we're all just sexual. I'm just sexual. We're all just sexual. Yeah, yeah. Sexual. 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 Some people are straight. Some people are gay. Some people are gay. Oh, sugar. Baby, I'm just sexual. Doesn't really matter. Sexual. Doesn't really matter. Something for the top and something for the bottom. But we're all just sexual. Sexual. But we're all just sexual. Yeah.
What is going on? What is going on? What is going on, y'all? Hey, what's going on, y'all? Happy Monday. I know it's hard for some people to be excited about Monday, and I can understand, but regardless, happy Monday. I hope that you all are doing well. I feel very, very recharged. The universe was very good to me. Really, all my life, me just realizing it, but within the past few months, again, there has been a transition happening, and this past few weeks in March has really been a very recharging one. You know what I mean? I was able to spend the weekend with my family who came in from Indiana, and it was really good to see them. Like, the older that I get, the more appreciative I am of my parents. And even with me, once again, if you want to hear more about my childhood in reference to being a queer child, I did a live, um, I want to say maybe 2 lives ago. It's a very recent live called What About Protecting the Queer Children? Okay? Because what's going on right now in the world, but primarily in America, is can be a very scary, terrifying, excuse me, a reality for LGBT people, even more so because now there is regression happening. Progress is not happening anymore. It's fear based ideology that is now becoming systemic, being encouraged systemically. And it can be very, very scary and terrifying. But that's why I'm grateful that I read this book and that I'm doing this read through online. And I'm glad that there are some people, shout out to Queen Donna, hey, and other individuals who enjoy the read throughs with all of the mistakes, no matter what, just me being Bubs and operating Bubs and who I am now. Um, but to me, the reason why I'm grateful for and how the universe has amazing timing is because we literally see where a lot of the world is now, a lot of society now in reference to fear, 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 fear. There is some sort of fear about LGBT people. There's no real, at large, I'll say, on a small scale it is, and I'm thankful for that, but there is no majority collective like effort to try to genuinely understand LGBT people to where you'll move past tolerating them and actually learn to coexist with them and learn to like them and possibly love them. Like, don't deny the human experiences of LGBT people, especially through a fear-based lens, ideology, and interpretation. So again, Timothy Kurek, I am so happy that there are people in the world who are willing to really challenge themselves. And I think that's what's happening right now with a lot of queer phobia, transphobia. There's a lot of facing of the self because a lot of those people, a lot of, I want to say all, but I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt. A lot of people, how can I say this? A lot of people think they're not queerphobic because they're not overt with it. It's kind of like with racism, how like a lot of white people can say, oh, I'm not racist, I don't call people the N-word, and I don't punch people in the face, and I don't do all these overt, horrible things that we have seen done in history. But we're talking about covertly here. Like, it might be the energy that you feel. Like, you might look at them and feel some type of way, or some of the words that you'll say, or I can go ahead and just do it in reference to voting on certain laws. I don't have to to actually use my voice. I can use the government as my voice piece as well. So it's a lot of that around, and especially the conversation surrounding children, 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 children. Again, when we do our research and educate ourselves, we find out that that was a fear tactic that has been used against the LGBT community since the 60s and is being used today. And I just feel like education is important. These conversations need to be dealt with, and not just factually, statistically, but emotionally and spiritually. There's a lot of fear there, and a lot of times it's not really based off of what we innately feel on the inside or what we've experienced to be true. It's something that was taught to us, indoctrinated to us, to believe something about this certain group of people. And I'm grateful for Timothy Kurek because he actually, before you can get to God according to the Bible, you have to go through Christ first. It's imperative. There's no way over, under, or around it. If you believe in the Christian narrative of the Bible, there is no way to God except through Christ, which means sacrificing yourself in reference to your emotions. All the lies that was taught about you or that you were taught to believe to be true, all of the guilt, all of the shame, all of the insecurities, all of the things that we deemed or that religion deems to be a mark or a stain upon you, to where you can't really access God because you're stained and you're dirty. And Christ said that if you learn to love yourself first, you won't see yourself ever as dirty. No matter how many of those outside of you might see you as dirty, you see yourself as clean. And not only do you see yourself as clean, you actually showcase that clean energy to everybody else and say, I see you as clean as well. That's what Christ does. So Timothy was able to go forth in reference to the thick of it of LGBT and the fear narrative and all of the fear tactics and political jargon and all this stuff that's thrown at it. He's actually saying, let me do what Christ asked us to do, which is to study to show thyself approved. Not approved for everybody else, but to make sure I show myself approved. And a lot of queerphobic people, unfortunately, do not have the wherewithal to actually do what Timothy did as far as facing his own biases, his own fear, his own queerphobia, and how he realized how queerphobia is really, really deep and it's so multi-layered to where it's like, damn, I'm sitting here and I've been doing this project for months. And I thought that, all the queerphobia shit is out my body. And now, girl, I'm finding out there's some more, this ain't it. Like, he's really putting in the work and doing the work. But before we do the work, let me get a sip of water, excuse me. Baby, let's go ahead and be smart, as always. Where's it at? Boom. And I never ever have this pulled up. Every time. I never ever do. Hold on. Oh, Jesus. 1 second. There we go. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research, okay? Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use, okay? So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into, I think I like what I'm doing now with this music stuff. I think I'll do it a little bit better. Chapter 22, entitled Rescued. Hopefully you guys can hear me over the music. I'll put it at 7. All right. I am in the second act of this story now, and the novelty, like new car smell, has worn off. The novelty of the closet wore off a long time ago, but I am still inside it, alone. I cannot imagine living this way for much longer. It's crushing my spirits to a degree I've never anticipated. We were not created to be alone, you and I. We were created with a need for otherness, a need for community, and I'm just beginning to realize how much the closet hinders community, and even more than community, how it hinders love. 2 weeks have passed since Gay Pride Day, and boredom is killing me. No job and no money makes my time on Church Street less enjoyable. Move this microphone, sorry. I am sitting on the back patio of my father's with a case of piss beer, listening to the best of Puccini, I believe that's the word, or Puccini, and the sound of cicadas trying to mate with each other. I miss my friends, the regulars, and all of the conversation and laughter we shared at the cafe. Loneliness and desperation are growing as my social life deteriorates into non-existence. I'm still living at my dad's house, and I often resort to drinking alone. The realization hits me that this year is more than half over. Losing my job at the cafe has turned my black cloud into a tropical depression. I haven't felt bogged down this trapped in years. The combination of pretending to be someone I'm not and the emotional distance between me and my family are taking a toll. I wonder, if is this plunge into the melancholy unique to me, or is it a natural byproduct of the closet? The green on the grass is topped with the light frosting of the freshly cut grass that lies atop it, and it has a distinctly southern smell that I have not found anywhere other than Tennessee. I love Nashville, but even the city itself is starting to feel oppressive. The claustrophobia of my life is shattering any semblance of stability I found. And then the phone rings with a distinctive ring, and I know I might just be okay. It's my good friend Connie, who could more aptly be described as a guardian angel or a second mom than just another peer. I met Connie through our mutual friend Jay from New York, but until recently, I was always put off by her, brand of faith. She lives several hours away in Memphis, so we rarely get to see one another. Jay told her about my experiment and she reached out. Connie is Connie is a very liberal United Methodist pastor. Throughout her ministry, gay and lesbian issues have been a passion. Lately, she has been calling me daily, and I wonder how she knows, or always seems to know, when I am struggling. I wonder how she knows just the right time to call and check up on me. Every time I hear that ringtone, I know that at least for a moment, I'm not completely alone. Hey kiddo, how you holding up? A few seconds pass and I don't respond. I hiccup. I was just smelling the grass. My dad mowed the lawn and it smells great out here. That bad. I can't hide anything from her. No. Everything is good. I was thinking about going to Tribe tonight to spend some time with the guys. Sounds like you've already brought the party home. How much have you been drinking? Not enough. Oh, hon. Have you seen Sean lately? She didn't press me for details, that I didn't want to give. I like that about her. Not much. He's been really busy. Another hiccup. I miss Sean. Everything comes to me like an epiphany when I've been drinking, even the smallest things. Sounds like you could really use a friend. I'm okay, really. I've only got 4 more months of this thing, and then I'll get my life back. I try to focus, but I see a small yellow butterfly several feet away. I like the way it floats, bobbing up and down on the air like a kite, only more graceful. Part of me wishes I could float like that. I wonder if it will ever be possible. I would probably have to lose a lot of weight first. But then again, bumblebees have a body mass higher than any other flying bug, and somehow it seems to work for them. Why aren't there any bumblebees out here right now? It is summer after all. I wipe my face with a wet rag. Hello, is you there? She asks. Connie, I'm not well. Another drunken epiphany. Tim, just come here. Where? Memphis. Oh, God, I hate it when your ass get drunk. That makes one of us. So, is that a yes? Can we visit Graceland? Does that mean you're coming? I don't know. I need to find a job, and what about softball? You sent me your schedule months ago. After tomorrow, you've got the next 3 weeks off before your tournaments. Just come stay with me and my family, and I'll help you with your project. Well, how can you help? Well, for one, Charlie and I are the only ones who will know about your project. We won't even tell our kids, or anyone else for that matter. You'll get to see what it's like to go somewhere new, where the label of gay is connected to you, where the label of gay is, excuse me, let me read that again. You'll get to see where it's like to go somewhere new, where the label of gay is connected to you from the first impression. That sounds like a great plan. I'll be there in 2 hours. I stand up, girl, the way I'm reading, he ain't going nowhere. I stand up and start walking to my car. I don't even have my keys. See, the universe knew it was up. Hell no, Tim, hell no, is you crazy? Look, sober up, Tim, okay? Play your games tomorrow and then come down sober. She yells the last part, and I have to pull the phone away from my ear. Okay, okay, I'll stop drinking. That a boy. I can hear her smiling on the other end of the line. I open another beer and hope the hiss of the carbonation escaping is not loud enough for Connie to hear. I have never felt so low. Oh, the song ain't even on the loop. I forgot. Here we go. I took the loop option off. My bad. After a little over 2 hours of driving, I pull into Connie's driveway, barely able to park on the steep incline. I pull my backpack and duffel bag from the back seat, and I see a furry cat jump onto my hood. The cat turns in 2 quick circles before curling up and closing his eyes. What a oddly charming little fellow. And then I feel it. For the first time in years, I feel home. I see Connie through my driver's side window, standing on the porch. It's an odd thing to leave Nashville without any plan or itinerary, awkward, but somehow good and comfortable. Connie gives me a huge hug and tells me it's great to see me. She has the warmest spirit, and I feel instantly at ease. How was the drive? As good as could be expected. Got to think a lot and sung opera at the top of my lungs. I'm glad I wasn't there, my eardrums. She smiles. This is the first time this year I've done anything with me in mind. To get away and just breathe. Don't get too comfortable. My daughters are beyond excited to have a guy to talk boys with. Thanks for this. I believe in you, Tim. Just count the past month as, a hiccup, like your drunk ass, and keep moving forward. You know I'm always here for you. We sit in Connie's study, and I put my feet up on the ottoman, exhausted, drained, paper thin. I look over and see myself in a mirror. I look like I have aged several years in a matter of months. The creases in my forehead are a preview of what's to come. I've even lost 20 pounds. Between softball and dancing diet, I have spent most of my summer running from bar to bar and ball field to ball field. I sigh, and Connie tilts her head, a look of curiosity on her face. What's wrong, hon? I'm just so tired. You want to take a nap or something? Not that kind of tired, I say, taking a deep breath. My soul is tired, and my heart has broken so many times this year for so many people and for myself that I feel like I've got nothing left. Connie smiles. Tim, you're you're growing, and that's never easy. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. It's not your job to save the world. No, but it's my responsibility to make amends for my life. I feel so much guilt for what I've been all this time and how I've treated these people. What's going on with your brother? Still no word, but I can't push it. I'm just trying to, give him the space he asks for and hope things work out. I retrieved the letter he wrote me before his wedding out of my bag, and I handed it to Connie. This is what I've lost. I can't believe it's been less than a year since he wrote this. She reads the letter, and I see tears in her eyes. Then she looks up and smiles. Trust me, your brother will be your best friend again before too long. He feels like he's been played like a fool and that he didn't have a choice, she says, echoing the guilt that exists inside of me. She sees my face. Tim, you're doing the right thing, but you've got to follow through with respecting his wishes. She thumbs the letter and looks down at it thoughtfully. What you're doing is important, but you already know that. What's left to doubt? She asks. I think the reason I haven't loved other people has just... Lord, excuse me. I think the reason I haven't loved other people has just as much to do with not loving myself as it does with what I've learned growing up. What do you mean? If I've realized anything this year about myself, is that I'm a pretty insecure guy. I used my religion to bully people. Ooh, to feel superior to them. If I loved myself, I probably would have known better. I leaned my head back against the top of the leather chair and sigh. I'm proud of you. You are getting to the point that you aren't just carelessly pointing the finger. You're looking inside first. And you need to keep following that path. Oh, let me read that again, because, baby, that was a read. Even for me, girl. Even for me, because we're all growing. But let's read what Tim said again. Let me screenshot this. Baby, this is going on my TikTok. If I've realized anything this year about myself, it's that I'm a pretty insecure guy. I used my religion to bully people, to feel superior to them. If I loved myself, I probably would have known better. I leaned my head back against the top of the leather chair and sighed. I'm so proud of you. You are getting to the point where you aren't just carelessly pointing the finger. You're looking inside first. And you need to keep following that path. Someone else I know told me to start within. Why am I the last to figure these things out? Don't worry. Eventually, your eyes will adjust to the gradient of colors that the black and whites have cheated you from. Ooh. I don't know what the hell this is in this book, but I'm going to say it how it is. Anazanin, I hope that's how it's pronounced. Anazanin once said, we don't see things as they are. We see them as we are. Come on, yes. When y'all talk about sexualizing the kids, no, you're talking about your sexualization. Okay, let's be real. Let's be real, girl. Connie's words confirm that. As my perspective continues to be challenged, my views of others is changing. I look back on who I was before, and I feel humbled. All we really have in this life is each other, and I think that was God's intention. The gospel really is simple. Loving Him means loving each other. Hours later, after running errands and eating dinner, Connie and I sit on her back porch. Before I arrived, she stocked the fridge with food she knows I like and even purchased Captain Morgan and Coke for mixed drinks. Ooh, I like Connie. So we sit, talking about God and life and faith and otherness, and I feel at home. I feel free to melt into my wicker chair and free to release every thought I have kept so tightly locked away from people in the past 7 months. I release it. I share stories of all the people I have met and about the downward spiral I've fallen into since the beginning of summer. Connie does not respond. She just sits, listening while I talk, crying with me when I cry. And that's one thing I'm learning to do. I'm learning to listen more. Because even with me, I'm so used to responding and so used to protecting that I need to also listen to respond to hear other people. And baby, people will tell you what you need to hear when you listen as well. So even me, I'm learning that. And I know she accepts me for who I am. For the first time in my life, I feel a true sense of safety. This unexpected haven in Memphis has restored something I thought I had lost my hope and, this unexpected haven in Memphis has restored something I thought I had lost my hope, and I know that Connie is right. Everything really will be okay, and I am doing the real thing, the right thing. I just have to keep trusting God to direct my path. As this experiment is as this experiment is my cross to bear, my opportunity to learn empathy. Everyone has a calling in life, a cross to bear. I never anticipated that I would find my cross in the closet. And ladies and gentlemen, that is chapter 22 called Rescued. How do y'all feel about that? And I like how in this chapter it speaks about, come on, Tim knew what he was doing. It speaks about the totality of him learning how to love the others. Because when we look at religion, let's be real, a lot of us haven't been taught to love the other for real, what that looks like in application. We've been told that God loves everyone. We've been told that Jesus died on the cross for everyone to be loved, but we don't know how to really employ or apply that love and put it into action when there are oppressed people or oppressed groups in front of you or around you. That is your opportunity to really show that love. And with Timothy being human and acknowledging his humanity along with his guilt and his shame for being wrong, for hurting other people, he was unintentional. He was unconscious, but now that he's becoming aware through education, through application, through being in the mix for themselves and seeing what's really going on, he just felt really beat up. And he's not only just understanding his own biases, his own ignorances within himself, he's acknowledging and also connected to the other side as far as being isolated, being undesirable, being casted aside, family members walking away, church members, church faculty, not even acknowledging your presence. Just certain parts of your life that you believed so wholeheartedly in has been erased or ripped away from you. So he's dealing with all this. And it just shows that no matter where you are in life, no matter what you think of, God, source, universe, whatever you call it, whatever you decide the higher being to be in reference to what you believe, is always looking out for you. Because even in him wallowing in his pit of despair that he was participating in, an angel came through. And once again, like he said, it's always funny how this woman Connie just know when to call. This Connie Chung, hello, Diane. But how Connie always knows how to call, and how she offered Tim a haven to come and just be human, to actually learn to bask in unconditional love. And that even those who claim to know the God of unconditional love and even walk behind them and hold their name and their title even need times and opportunities to be human and to let go of all their humanness. And Connie was able to just let him break, let all of the totality of his journey, the good, the bad, the ugly, the in between, just all of it. Laughing, crying, getting upset, not at him, but just choosing to participate in the story with him, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and just continuing to pour love on him, just no matter what happened, whether it was a good story, whether it was a bad story, whether it was a story that he's still trying to figure out, that she was pouring love on him and saying, look, I still love you, I still love you, look, I still love you. This may be weird, but I still love you. This might seem crazy, but I still love you. That might hurt, but and still did that. And little did Tim know, he probably knows now, but he was being recharged. He didn't know what the hell home felt like. He just felt what a lot of LGBT people feel, which is the closet, which is being ostracized, the darkness. Nobody wants to be in the dark. Nobody wants to go to the dark. Nobody wants to be associated with the dark. And people aren't just afraid of the dark, they're afraid of what lingers in the dark. But for the first time in 7 months, for Tim, 6-7 months, he was able to go somewhere new where nobody knew him. And the ones that did knew who he was. So they was able to love on him and to feel home. So I really appreciate this chapter. To just show how, and this is one thing I want people to understand too, even those who are called queer phobes, like, we have to deal with the fear all around. Like, just like how a lot of parents are afraid of LGBT because they feel like it ignorantly and unconsciously that it is something that just permeates and will just cover and saturate the child and just turn them LGBT. They have to deal with that fear. They have to deal with the tables, Lord, the labels and terms. I was trying to put terms and labels together. See how the universe just said, girl, get to the point. How the label of queerphobia is there's a social stigma of accountability attached to it too. So it's like we have to deal with fear all around, and how there are a lot of people who are queerphobic who may feel like Timothy, who may feel the guilt and the shame of the acknowledgement of what they have been doing, and they see the objective the objective truth and facts and evidence and history and study, and as opposed to just actually walking through love and reconciliation, which is to simply just right what has been wronged that we can all objectively see. A lot of them don't want to do that because that righting of the wrong means they have to call their character and call who they are into question. And it's hard to deal with who you are, especially when you're dealing with who you are openly. Do you get what I'm saying? There's a lot of fear and insecurity, and just like how Timothy said, the biggest, hardest thing for me, besides, understanding LGBT people's plights and having a very, taking off the rose-colored glasses when it comes to religion and actually choosing to see more than just the black and the white, or shall I say, putting on the rose-colored glasses, shall I say, to see the colors as opposed to just, like I said, what only black and white only robbed us of. I realized how much that I've participated in this. That because I was insecure, I used my religion as a way to bully somebody, as again, to be able to stand upon someone and to be considered morally superior to them. That means that I'm closer to heaven than you, but I'm standing on your back to get to it. And now that I've realized that, and I've sat down with people who have shared their stories, and here I am, a newly, quote unquote, out of the closet gay guy who's going through the initial turbulence of outage and people falling away and family members walking away and religious people walking away and just society not really wanting to fuck with me because of this. And here it is, I'm venting about this. I'm not really gay according to the Timothy, but I'm venting this new experience to these people, and they've been through this and they're still here. Now, yeah, there are those who unfortunately succumb to depression and self-deletion, but that there are people who still choose to make it and still love, and was even willing to give him advice to say, hey, your family will come around, or hey, the world still goes on. You're still going to find and manifest all that you want. Like, again, religion has taught us that LGBT is one of the end-all be-alls of sin, girl. Like, if you do that shit, girl, you just asking to be thrown in the fire. You're just asking to be outcasted. You're just asking to be exiled from society, to be other. You're just asking for a death wish, a death sentence. Not realizing that, girl, Christ was saying that in order for you to manifest heaven, girl, you need to die before you die. Die unto self, girl. And Timothy was dying unto a false self. But even with death, baby, you still got to mourn. You still got to go through the process. You still got to go through the stages of grief. And that's what Timothy is doing. And I can confirm that's what Timothy was doing because Connie said, Tim, you're growing. These are growing pains, which means certain things have to die. Certain things have to be let go of. Certain things have to be removed so that you can obtain more of what you desire and what's good for you. So again, shout out to Tim. So with that being said, we're going to take a quick break real quick. We're going to go ahead and do like a little 2-minute break or something. You know, we're going to bring back our song, our residential theme song, girl, Sexual by B Slade. Shout out to B Slade. I am learning to tap into my creative genius like he is, one BubzDaGawd flow at a time. Okay? So I will be right back. You guys stay close by, and we will be back for chapter 23, which is entitled Don't Tread on Me. I'm kind of excited to hear about that because they talking about treading and shit. We about to be fighting or something. Because some people need their ass whooped. I'm just saying. Be back in a few.
Sexual. Some people are straight, and some people are gay. Maybe I'm just sexual. 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 Some prefer the top, and some prefer the bottom. But we're all just sexual. Sexual. We're all just sexual. Sexual. Yeah. Hey, we're not in the 60s, but yet we're talking about the same things. So why are we having these same discussions? It's so interesting that you find it fascinating. Who I'm sleeping with and what I'm doing. Why do we all need these labels? Your character is all that matters to me. You shouldn't let ideology and favor make you stop loving family and friends. Some people are straight. Ooh, yeah. Some people are gay. Ooh, yeah. Maybe I'm just sexual. 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 Some prefer the top. Some prefer the bottom. But we're all just sexual. Just sexual. Just sexual. Some people are straight. Ooh, yeah. Some people are gay. Oh, yeah. Maybe I'm just sexual. Baby, I'm just sexual. Sexual. Ooh, yeah. Some prefer the top. Some prefer the top. Some prefer the bottom. Some prefer the bottom. But we're all just sexual. Sexual. But we're all just sexual. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why do we all need these labels? Is he gay or straight or somewhere in between? Yeah. Don't let ideology and fables make you treat your brother or your sister differently. Yeah. Some people are straight. Some people are straight. Some people are gay. Some people are gay. Maybe I'm just sexual. Maybe I'm just sexual. Sexual. Just sexual. Some prefer the top. Some prefer the top. Some prefer the bottom. Some prefer the bottom. But we're all just sexual. Sexual. Just sexual.
All right. Excuse me. All right, y'all. That was Again, be slayed sexual, okay? Make sure y'all listen to the words that's being said in the song, girl. That's why I really, really appreciate it. First of all, I'm gonna always give roses. This is my stuff. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm pretty sure there are other read throughs that will get straight to the point. Read with the vernacular that you like, girl. All the enunciation, all of that stuff is in there, and you can get that. But this is the Bubs version, okay? Which means we free over here, all right? This is reaching certain groups of people, okay? I ain't gonna be able to reach everybody, and that's fine. I want to reach the people that I'm destined to reach, okay? But again, shout out to B Slade. Like the way that B Slade mind work, I'm trying to be on that type of level. Like this is an individual that can take certain themes and put them in a song, and not only that, but sing on key, do all type of intricate harmonies, fourth, fifth harmonies, sixth harmonies, and girl, all type of tritones and stuff, all type of vocal inflections and stuff, just doing all type of stuff. He can sit down and make a song in an hour, girl. What? I'm talking about instrumental. I'm talking about background vocals. I'm talking about lead vocals. I'm talking about all type of stuff. Just be flowing. That's the type of energy my leprechaun ass is tapping into. Okay, so again, shout out to B Slade, residential theme song. Okay, it's called Sexual. All right, now let's get into chapter 23, which is entitled "Don't Tread on Me, don't tread on me." What? Don't tread on me, don't tread on me. Okay, let me shut up. I wake up and stretch, trying to remember the last time I slept through the night without waking up in a cold sweat. Tossing and turning and dreams have been the bane of my nights for the past few months. I feel like I'm in emotional rehab, and Connie is my sponsor. I look down at my phone and see no missed calls or texts. I haven't spoken with my parents in a week, and I wonder how long it will be before they call. I have all but disappeared. When will they notice? Lying back on the bed, I pull up. Ooh, Lord. That "Don't Tread on Me" got me on my pull-up spirit. I pull out, okay, a book I got from the bookstore attached to Revive. I long for the little cafe like a lost friend and wonder what all of the boys are up to. Look, Andrew Caldwell, back up off my tongue. Yes, yeah. The book, Thou Shalt Not Love, is a compelling read. I feel fortunate to have been directed to so many books and movies that challenged my old ways of thinking and continue to challenge me as I question and re-question the assumption that I clutched with white-knuckle pride. I'm reading that again, girl, because Andrew Caldwell was all on my tongue, girl, at that point. Back up. The book, Thou Shalt Not Love, is a compelling read. I feel fortunate to have been directed to so many books and movies that challenge my old ways of thinking and continue to challenge me as I question and re-question the assumptions that I clutched with white-knuckled pride. I like that better. I hear tapping on the door, and Connie tells me that breakfast is ready. Breakfast? How on earth could I have gotten so lucky? I mean, 2 nights ago, I was alone in my dad's house eating expired ramen. Welcome to blackness. Now I am in a house with a family, and Connie has made breakfast. I throw a t-shirt on and walk to the kitchen, where I see eggs, sausages, and biscuits. Ooh, the smell curls its way to my nose, drawing me as though 2 cartoon figures, what is cartoon? Cartoon fingers were pulling me by my nostrils. Julia, Connie's oldest daughter, just shy of 17, laughs at the expression on my face and the rabbit-like twitch of my nose as I smell real home-cooked food. What's wrong? I haven't eaten breakfast before? It's been way too long, I reply. You better leave some of that sausage for Becca, or she'll eat you for breakfast, Connie yells from the next room. We will. Julie, and I yell in unison. Have you ever been to a drag show? Julie question catches me off guard. Are you really so a 17-year-old asking about the drag show? Wait a minute, girl, not the hold on, girl. Let me read that again. Have you ever been to a drag show? Julie's question. Well, make sure I'm saying the right thing. Julia, Connie's oldest daughter, just shy of 17. Okay, so Julie, they call her Julie or Julia. I guess they call her Julie girl because it said Julia and then her name was Julie in the book. So I'm going to call her Julie because Julie is only one time. Maybe he being proper. We black, it was Julie. Okay, so Julie is the one that asks, okay, have you ever been to a drag show? Julie's question catches me off guard. Are you really asking me that? Of course I have. Have you ever been in one? She asks. No, I would never want to subject anyone to that sight. That's too funny. Connie laughs from the other room. Well, we're all girlfriends here, I say, leaning back far enough in my seat to wink at Connie in the other room. Not Julie, the 17-year-old asking the grown gay queer man about drag shows. Let it be told in today, wouldn't that have been the time for Timothy to be like, hey girl, you ever been to a drag show? You know any boys don't want to go to a drag show? Like, he should be asking that question. They should be talking about boys, girl. And Julie the one asking him questions, girl. Where you? What? After breakfast, Connie tells me that she's taking me to an LGBTQ potluck at a nearby Catholic church. Oh, shit. I feel uncomfortable and picture the Catholic embassy in Lower Manhattan. I mean, who knows, Tim? You might meet a boy. Julie laughs, her smile infectious. Not the little girl, not the 17-year-old girl telling the grown-ass queer man that she gonna find a boyfriend. Let these people tell it. Shouldn't Timothy be telling Julie, oh girl, I'm about to go find me a boyfriend, girl, and he gonna be your age? Like, shouldn't he be saying that? Not the 17-year-old knowing more about the gay than the motherfucking fake gay queer man. I don't think my boyfriend would like that too much. But there's nothing wrong with, a little bit of flirting. Besides, I'm pretty picky about the boys I go out with. I wrap my arm around Julie's neck and pull her into a hug. I feel like I have a little sister, and it makes me feel warm inside, like I am needed. Let some of these people tell it. Tim asked, and they're supposed to be promoting the gay agenda, girl, because he's gay. So he's supposed to be spreading that shit around like pixie dust. Fairy dust, girl. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. But Julie the one talking about telling Tim to get a man. What the fuck? That's why I need for some of the homophobic people and the queerphobic people and some of the conservative people like Rick DeSantis to pick up this book and read it. No shit. You should be picky, Connie says. All of you kids should be picky, okay? You better have some value and standard about yourself. All right. The Catholic Church is called Immaculate Conception. Wow. As we walk inside, we hear 100 voices deep in conversation. This is the first support group I have attended this year. Go figure. It's at a church attached to the organization I protested against a few months ago. Wow. I know that not all Catholics are the same, that, like Protestants, there is a huge variety of paradigms contained within the whole, and that is okay. That's okay. We set our food down on the table with the other potluck dishes, and a petite woman runs over to Connie. Her name is Beth, and she is another deeply entrenched United Methodist. Her hair is short and brown, and her glasses fit snugly on the bridge of her nose. You must be Tim, she says, pulling me into a tight hug. And you're Beth? That's me. Now, I've heard through the grapevine that you just came out recently. Congratulations, sister. Thank you. I'm adding some shit in here. I'm just being petty. Thank you. It wasn't easy, but, I'm making it. I take a sip of the coffee Connie hands me. I'm not completely out yet. I'm not completely out yet, she says, but the time is coming. She looks down at her shoes and takes a deep, calming breath. In her tone, there are hints of deep pain. Even though she puts on a brave face, I sense that her pain may only have just begun. She stands next to me with her arm around my shoulder, and it isn't the embrace of a stranger, oh Lord, Andrew, of a stranger or acquaintance. It is the gentle touch of an aunt or a sister. The immediacy of our connection catches me off guard, but not in a bad way. I feel a soul connection to this petite woman, this closeted UMC minister in training. I cannot imagine what it would be like to spend so much time training for a ministry, all the while knowing that if I came out, I would be expelled from that training and barred from ordination. Beth reminds me once again that to live a life in the closet is to walk on eggshells, especially if one is part of a religious institution. I look over at Connie, who smiles as she watches Beth and I talk. I spend the next half hour mingling, eating, enjoying the company of a wide variety of people. I met a guy named Mark who is pushing 70 and has been with his partner for just under 38 years. Come on, Mark. All right? I can tell he has spent the majority of his life navigating others' opinions, having been openly gay long before it was considered, normal by anyone. His somewhat cautious demeanor is understandable. After our talk, he kisses me on the cheek and tells me that he is happy I have so many years ahead of me where happiness and safety are mine for the taking. I am fixated on what his words really mean. How many years did this good man spend afraid? How many years was happiness an unattainable dream? How many tears has he shed in loneliness and isolation because the world hated him? As Mark and I talk, a young man walks into the room. Mark waves to the young man. Mark waves to the young man. Girl, Mark waves the young man over and insists I meet him. His name is John, and he's a good kid. John introduces himself. He is extremely well built, and his hair is cropped short, typically of a soldier. Military man? I ask before he introduced himself. I was, he replies. Is your contact? Andrew. Hey, Queen Spicy. Andrew, girl, I know you want to be in the building. Because your ass low-key in the closet too, sis, in my opinion, girl. So I understand. We talking about the cross in the closet, girl. This is your forte, girl. But you're not finna hijack my tongue so you can come over here with your foolishness. Okay? Or your women's spirit. Okay? Is your contract up? I was dishonorably discharged, actually. A sullen look of frustration replaced his smile. What? Why? Mark sighs and puts his hand on John's shoulder. He squeezes knowingly, and I catch a telling look on Mark's face. And then it hits me. This young man is the first I have met that suffered at the hands of the Don't Ask, Don't Tell, or the DADT Act. Ooh, this book. I remember when that first came out, girl. One of my commanding officers attends my church. A few weeks after I confided in my pastor that I'm gay, he told my CO, and it didn't take long for Uncle Sam to get rid of me. It's been the hardest year of my life. His expression is pained. After 2 tours in Afghanistan, I am kicked out for being queer. I've seen it happen too many times, Mark says. But times are changing. I'm excited for you youngins. John, I say, you didn't hook up with anyone while you were in the military or do anything to draw their attention? I never so much as flirted with another person after I enlisted. I mean, that was my career, man. I was going to be in the Marines for the rest of my life. And I loved it. And I trained for it and was good at what I did. That part that makes me want to scream is that my discharge was dishonorable. I didn't do a single fucking thing that was dishonorable as a soldier. John takes a deep breath and puts his hand on Mark's, which is still perched on his shoulder. Mark has heard my story too many times, but he's sick of it by now. Oh, I'm sorry to read it again because I just read the thing underneath it. But John has heard my story too many times, but he's sick of it now. John says as lightheartedly as possible. Never, my boy. Telling that story is part of your journey, and believe it or not, I'm more proud of you every time you share it. Mark looks at me. Tim, you wouldn't believe how much more calm John is now. The first time we met, not long after it happened, I was almost afraid for him. I was almost afraid of him, excuse me. He was so angry. I can only imagine, I say, even though I really don't have a clue. Yeah, it was pretty rough, John says, regaining his composure. All that danger, all that sacrifice, and we aren't even able to marry our partners, Mark says, his words betraying his own struggle. It isn't fair, I say. So what are you doing, now that you're out of the military? I'm just trying to put my life back together. I'm trying to find something new of a career. I feel compelled to hug John, so I let my body close the distance between us, and I wrap my arms around his torso. He leans his head on my shoulder and sighs. The U.S. government is just like the church. How so? I ask. They shoot their wounded. Ooh, bitch. Girl, hold on. I gotta take a sip of water on that part, girl. Hold on. Girl, no shade. I'm gonna take a moment, girl, to say what I gotta say. This is why it's important for us to study to show ourselves approved and actually talk to the people. Not be afraid of them and treat them like leopards and oh my God, they're contagious. But to actually talk to these people and listen to their stories. But when you hear stories like this, there will be guilt and shame. Because despite all these labels we put up to try to be morally superior to each other, we hold so much to these titles because these titles keep us from being seen as the one thing we all are universally, regardless of what we believe: human. And human beings gonna make mistakes. And human beings gonna fuck up. Human beings gonna do all of that. But that there's still love and redemption there. But accountability. But that the accountability doesn't have to be sought through vengeance. It's being sought through reconciliation, which means where do we go from here? Let's rectify what was done. And how do we move on from here collectively? But you gotta be emotionally and mentally and spiritually honest. And a lot of people don't want to do that because of these stories and because of what was said. And let's read that again. The United States government is just like the church. How so, I ask? They shoot their wounded, John says. Mark snorts his assent. Excuse me. Thank you for your service, John. Even if it was cut short, you are a hero to me. To both of us, Mark agrees. His arms wrap around me tighter than before. I feel the strength in his arms. He hugs like a Paris Island trained Marine. Thank you guys, John whispers. I really needed to hear that. Over John's shoulders, a few feet behind Mark, I see Connie looking. Her expression is grim, and she nods slowly that she understands. She knows John, or at least his story. This LGBTQ potluck is a support group, a tight-knit community of people, and probably a very necessary part of everyone's life. I wish I could be a part of it regularly. Like many, I have spent my life believing a lie. It is the lie that there are no longer second-class citizens in this country, It is the lie that there are no longer second-class citizens in this country. There are. John and Mark are second-class citizens, and I am a second-class citizen now. And anyone sympathizing with us, like Jay Backer when he came out as an ally of the community, is crushed underfoot just for their association to us, and they are assigned second-class status too. Here's another lie. America is a Christian nation. If we were, thousands wouldn't die every year from starvation, poverty, murder, or war. If America was a Christian nation, there wouldn't be second-class citizens. All men and women would be equal. No, we are no more a Christian nation than anywhere else. While our country has been blessed, we have tainted our blessings by our cruelty to those who are different. This year has proven it to me. John is proof, and so is Mark. Girl, let me screenshot this, girl, because I'm gonna read this on TikTok, girl, because y'all be wanting me to read all these different type of books. What about all these books that the board has banned because of these children and stuff? Girl, it's on the list to be looked upon and go through evaluation. See, they're actually gonna read the books for themselves and see. But I'm gonna do the work too. I'm gonna look at these books, but I also want them to read this book. No shade. I walk over to Connie after John, Mark, and I part ways. They're sweet, aren't they? Connie asks. They're more than sweet. Mark is a testament to same-sex relationships, and John is a hero, I say. I just can't imagine why this country wouldn't let John serve. It really makes no sense. My imagination plays a scene like a movie in my mind. John is in Afghanistan, holding a black M16, dressed in desert camouflage. I see him moving with his squad, mortars, girl, and shrapnel flying mere inches above his head. He fights for our country willingly, accepting of the possibility of sacrifice, all the while knowing that our great country doesn't understand, accept, or even like him. He knows this, and still he risks his life. I see him hunkering down in the dirt, praying for safety as he and his fellow Marines slowly advance on site, rumored to be the meeting place of a terrorist cell. And I see him breathe a sigh of relief as the house is cleared and the mission ends. I let this scene play through my mind, and the reality of his dishonorable discharge pierces my heart like a piece of shrapnel in the desert. He's a better man than I am, stronger and more courageous, and just because he's gay, his experience and talents count for less than his comrades with the proper orientation. Their loss. The rest of the night, I meet people who have experienced all forms of rejection from the mainstream, and I sit silently while they tell me their stories. A few feet away, Mark and his husband hold hands. Their love is as vibrant and strong as it ever had been 38 years and counting. I wonder how many straight couples could boast that number of years. Ooh, my parents, they getting up there. Before we leave, Mark walks over to say goodbye. It was a pleasure meeting you, Tim. I hope you come back. Me too. It's hard to get down here much, living in Nashville, but I will do my best. He's a good kid, Mark says to Connie. Yes, he is. She agrees. Mark gives me a hug and a kiss on the forehead. The kiss reminds me of the way my grandpa used to kiss me. It was a pleasure to meet you, I say, waving goodbye. Connie and I walk outside, and I take one back look towards the church. Just outside the door, John waves goodbye. He turns and walks back inside, and I see the back of his shirt for the first time. The white letters on the black t-shirt read, "Don't tread on me." I watch him inside until he moves out of sight, and soberness washes over me. I am sorry for treading on you, John. I'm sorry for marginalizing your bravery. So what do you think? Connie asked as I fastened my seatbelt. That was great. Really great, actually. Look, I know you're depressed, and I know you feel isolated and alone, but don't let that pain blind you. You are the main character in the story of your life, but other people are the main characters of their own lives. And sometimes you can find healing just by playing a supporting role in someone else's experience. Girl. I got to screenshot that. Girl, this book is giving me my life. Connie says as she backs the white Suburban out of the parking space and pulls out onto the road that will take us home. That's true, I say. Look, I know I'm preaching to the choir, okay? But I want to remind you of that. I've battled depression before, and I understand how easy it is to lose sight of the big picture. I feel reinvigorated, almost a restoration of my purpose. This whole year is about listening to others and comprehending how diverse people really are. It occurs to me that the reason for my progression away from who I was and toward who I am becoming is people. In listening to others and allowing them to share their hearts with me, I have finally conquered my irrational fear of indifferent. So what's next? I asked Connie. I have cupcakes baking at home. Okay, hope they edibles. And you haven't lived until you tried my cupcakes, Connie says as we pull into her subdivision. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for the cupcakes, and I can't wait for everything else this year still has to offer. 2 years later, on September 20th, 2011, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed. I heard the news and thought of John, hoping that wherever he was, he felt some small measure of peace. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of chapter 23 called Don't Tread on Me. And baby, when I tell you, I'm so grateful that I read this chapter. And I don't know if it was Queen Donna or if it was Miss English. It was somebody who was like, oh, I love, my interpretation, my reading interpretation, and my, expression of the read through of The Cross in the Closet. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that. And I was going to do that last night, but I had to finish up this editing job that I needed to do because, like I said, baby, I'm working for the coin, girl. Y'all see the cash app at the bottom, girl. If you feel compelled in your spirit to bless the individual, I'm learning not to block my own blessings. For the longest time, I put in my work and my energy into helping other people, and I'm still going to do that, but I also need to learn how to receive, too. And that could be blocking other people's blessings. So if people feel blessed and compelled to donate anything, I don't care what it is, I'm grateful. So, but I said I was going to go ahead and do this read through, and I did it today, and I'm glad that I did, because it just brings into just like, it just affirms everything that is happening. It affirms my purpose and what I'm supposed to do, because for the longest time, the part of me that was radical, the part of me that was free, the part of me that was very, very creative and didn't put a limit or allowed a limit on my creativity as a child, was hindered, and I allowed to be hindered and smeared out and snuffed out by the opinions and views of other people. And now at 31, I'm just learning how to tap into that energy. I'm just now seeing the manifestations of a healed version of my shadow self, my childhood self, the things that I've been through, by standing up for other people and doing for others what I wish other people would have done for me growing up as a queer child. For people to stand in the gap for the defenseless who didn't know how to defend themselves because there was no world for them to learn anything healthy or fruitful or vibrant about themselves. Just everything was destructive and demonstrative. And how people don't even need their fears to be verified. They can just hurt you now off of an assumption. The previous chapter talked about how insecure people are, and how people will do whatever they can to protect themselves from being called insecure, but not even called insecure, but to face the reality that they are insecure, and have used all different type of tactics through religion, through freedom of speech, through all of these things that's supposed to give people the opportunity to be themselves, but use it in a hateful way because of unhealed trauma in their own personal life, because of unresolved issues and the projection of that, and how oppressed groups of people are the ideal targets for these type of outlets of aggression and anger that y'all need to be dealing with, as opposed to just projecting on other people. And how Tim sat there and dealt with that guilt and that shame, and then had to go even further and sit with a support group of people, at least at that time, which the laws and the talking points that are being put in place today are trying to bring us back to the times before even this book, when all these laws were in place to hinder LGBT people's expression, and that the only way that they will be somewhat recognized is if they were to give their life, and even them giving their life is not even deserved for recognition by a lot of people in power. And how he went to this support group and see how it was people who were up there in their golden years of life, who've been with their partner, who were told that these people don't even have the capacity to even love and to even build a relationship. And even if they have a 38-year relationship, they got to be doing something in the back end. They got to be doing some sort of destructive, decadent type of stuff behind. But they really just show love to each other. And how even for the younger people in the group, like Tim and like John, who put his life on the line and knew nothing else but service and loved it. And how just because of his sexual orientation that he never expressed, that he confided in his pastor, the person who's supposed to spiritually lead him, and instead of spiritually leading him, he told his CO that got him dishonorably discharged. And he ain't do nothing in all of his years as a Marine or in the service to do anything that's worthy of being discharged of. And how he had to sit down with all of these people who are open, those who just came out, those who are closeted, just all different intersections of the closet and just the LGBT experience, and how all these people came together and supported each other, whether they're afraid to open the door and walk into their truth, whether they just walked into their truth, or whether they've been walking in their truth for decades. How all this information of love is important. And it shows, no matter where we are, that we think of gay as just one thing, like this monolithic thing. It's not. It is an expression of life, and there are intersections. I got people on TikTok throwing me books about all these things that are literally just telling people about their experiences and how there are queer children who never had any sort of literature, any sort of movies, any sort of representation that was healthy. But see, that's why there's all this backlash, because it's easier to demonize these people and use children as the perfect caveat or conduit. All the meanwhile forgetting the queer children like myself who had to fight to make it, and a lot of us didn't. A lot of us succumbed to it. I forgot to say this, during my childhood years, I forgot there was a boy who used to live 3 to 4 houses down from where I live now. His name was T. I ain't gonna say his real name, but his name was T. And he was openly flamboyant, just like me, but he was more flamboyant than me. I think he had to be at least 14, 15, 16 years old. Childhood friend, people that we knew, took his own life. Family walked in and saw him hanging himself. All because they couldn't accept his sexuality. You got people on TikTok who haven't even read any of the books that is quote unquote banned or on the banned list, not out here reading the books for themselves to see what it is. They're just feeding into the fear. No, read this book. Read The Cross in the Closet. How about you read that book? The book that is filled with the experiences of other people, and ain't nothing really sexual going on here. And to be honest, I take that back. There is some sort of sexual thing going on here. The fact that Tim, during the first time, had sexual advances made at him, he deals with that. See, a lot of people don't want to deal with that. He was able to see where all that came from. Like, again, the education, the information is there. To individuals who are Christians, my plea to you is to actually walk in Christ energy and do what Christ would do. Not what you think God would do, but what would Jesus do? I guarantee you Jesus would have read this book. I guarantee you Jesus would be right outside the drag readathon, arguing down the parents on why they can't learn to look past their own fear and their biases and their ignorances and their own insecurities and actually challenge themselves in love to see people as people. I'm not saying to say that if there's any sort of predatory behavior there, to not acknowledge it. Again, we're protecting the children. But if the predatory behavior is not even there, it's non-existent, and it's being only as a tactic to demonize a group of people, and you can't even prove what the demon is, and you walk in Christ energy, girl, and Christ walk up and ask y'all, okay, where the demons at, and y'all trying to tell us the demons inside there reading, girl, when meanwhile Christ came outside to really talk to the demons, girl, the demons of insecurity, the demons of fear, the demons of bigotry, the demons of pseudo self-righteousness, girl. And the reason why I can believe that, girl, is because I actually read the book. Especially the part that is very important when it comes to Christians, which is Christ. And again, Timothy Kurek. That's what I'm saying. Like, if the fear is there and you don't know where to start or where to go, read The Cross in the Closet. Even though you still got the work ahead of you, at least you'll have some sort of reference standpoint. So even queerphobic people have the opportunity to have some sort of standpoint, but y'all don't even want LGBT youth to have that. See how God even covers those who are ignorant to give them the opportunity to not be ignorant? and that there are people who have already went through the hellfire that you think is going to happen, girl, who actually made the choice to live secretly as a gay man for a year to just even test himself, when a lot of individuals won't even go 24 hours, or better yet 12 hours, or better yet 3 hours, pretending that they're LGBT to see what will happen to their whole life. And the gag is, LGBT people know that you do know. They know that there's a social stigma. Because once again, just like in the book, even people who are closely associated with LGBT people, who can see doing allyship or a more radical version of allyship, which to me is more Christ-like, which is accomplice. But even when you're advocating for human rights, there will be people who will automatically demonize you because you are connected to them. And when people say this ain't the world we live in, it's the world we live in. It's the world we live in. It's definitely the world we live in. But a shift is happening. And the powers that be are afraid of this shift. Because what's happening, and we can take it above just LGBT, but just oppressed groups of people, queer people, people of color, women's rights, the whole game, the whole fear narrative, the whole alignment of the cycle and the history of bullshit that we keep perpetuating. Again, the song said, we're not in the 60s, but yet we're talking about the same thing. We're still literally in the 60s right now as far as energetically. History is repeating itself, and the oppressed groups of people are starting to realize their power. And once they stand up, collectively, the game is over, and they know that. Which is why there is nothing but fear, 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 for fear, 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 for fear, 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 for fear, fear. There's so much fear now, fear-mongering. Fearness when it comes to LGBT, fearness when it comes to people of color, fearness when it comes to women. Baby, toxic masculinity, not divine masculinity, but toxic masculinity and patriarchy is upset, girl. Because the real Christ energy is coming back, and we have the opportunity now, especially in the information age, to really study, to show ourselves approved, to where we ain't got to be ignorant no more. We don't have to choose ignorance anymore. We don't have to choose to be afraid anymore. We have the opportunity to learn. And the fact that it seems like history is repeating itself again, and we're in the information age and we know about it, if we don't do something different on our end, because they're banking on us doing the same thing, but if we don't do anything different on our end, we will continue the cycle, and we will talk about this for the next generation and the next generation. And I would hate for 2-3 generations to still have this conversation about LGBT when all this information is there, and we're still choosing to be gagged and bounded and tricked and having the wool pull over our eyes. And that's why Christ and so many other very important figures in history all over different types of belief systems, they all understood one universal rule. Is at the end of the day, we are all human beings. Christ, when he died, descended into the deepest, darkest, most vile, most nasty, most just saturated with just everything that we can think is not God, literally went down to that place and left his mark there so that no matter where you are on the spectrum of humanity, there is always redemption. And now we're living in the information age to where all we have to really do is accept that we are already redeemed. Now we're going to still go through the process. Again, there's no way over, under, or around the process. You still got to go through because you're still human. That's going to be the thing that humbles everybody. That's going to be the thing that brings humility. That's the thing that's going to bring equality. Is that we're humans. And we have to understand too that God, source, universe, whatever you worship, even if you don't worship anything, the higher being is okay with allowing us experiencing hell in order for us to be human. But we've experienced that so many times throughout history. When are we going to make a change? It is possible. There are people who have put their blood, their sweat, and tears into believing that was possible. And we have the opportunity right now to actually manifest that. But we got to do it through love. And I also understand love is 360, baby. It's a wraparound ass. So love know how to give you that energy too. Again, Christ went to hell, girl, which means that, girl, if you got to talk on hell energy, girl, we can talk on hell energy, girl. There's still love there, girl, but you got to find it now. And that hellfire is literally just going to be accountability, objectively in your face. And the more you resist that objective accountability, that is factually, statistically, historically, and through experience that we all can see, and even feel spiritually, in all the ways of totality of humanity, girl, people gonna have to go through that. And we're living in an age where people gonna have to pick up their cross. What's up, Low-Key Fur? And like that one saying goes, girl, if I climb upon the cross, that's sacrifice. But if you put me there, that's murder. A lot of people was putting a lot of people on the cross, girl. Understand, your cross experience is on the way. It's coming for all of us because we're human. But how we deal with it, how we identify with it. We can choose to identify it in the one thing that a lot of us struggle to really see, which is in the lens of love. And it's possible. Again, so many people did it for you before you even came here. So, anyway, yeah, thank y'all for coming through for another read through of The Cross in the Closet. Please make sure y'all hit that like button, baby. You ain't got to subscribe. Listen, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I understand that. The right ones are coming around, and that's what's important to me. They're red, but you can at least hit the thumbs up button, the like button. You ain't got to be a hating ass bitch all your life, girl. That can be the only redeeming quality you see in this damn live. I don't give a damn. You could say everything that I talked about in red could be bullshit to you. At least affirm it. Find Christ in it, girl, by hitting the like button. Shit. And if you feel more compelled in your spirit, girl, to send a nigga something, girl, that jingles and folds, girl, we don't discriminate, baby. If you feel compelled, my Cash App is at the bottom of the screen. Baby, I'm like Mama D, bitch. I deserve, baby. I deserve my blessings too, girl. They're going right back into self-love, girl. But anyway, thank y'all so much. I really appreciate y'all for coming through. Shout out to Queen Spicy. Shout out to Low-Key First. Shout out to Queen Donna B. I appreciate y'all. Me and my 3 little people, girl. That's okay, girl. The Bible said, girl, for the religious hoes, girl, when 2 or 3 are gathered together, bitch, and when I realized that, girl, all you need is 2 or 3 and shit can still move, girl, I'm okay with that, bitch. No shade. But anyway, I hope that y'all have the rest of an amazing Monday. and I will see you guys again. Yes. Woo 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 woo. Come on, yes. My people know. I will see y'all again for the next read through. Peace.
Feeling so lonely, feeling so down when you need someone. No one's there to be found. The pain inside can't be expressed verbally, so you cry on your pillow. You don't know what you're saying, but I know an interpreter of tears. And when your voice you cry, it lends no opinion. Oh, God understands the language of tears. He knows all about all your pain and your fears when you're right and you're wrong, when your friends are gone. He's a shoulder to cry on. God understands your tears. You can't keep it bottled inside, so just let it out. In God you confide. That's what He's there for. He knows all your pain. It's alright to cry. Trouble come in the morning, but I know interpreter of your tears. When your voice will cry, there's no here. Oh, God understands the language of tears. He knows all about all your pains and your fears when you're right and you're wrong, when your friends are gone. He's a shoulder to cry on. God understands your tears. He understands the language of tears. Oh, the language of tears. Not crying so many tears when you're right, when you're wrong, when your friends are gone. He's a shoulder to cry on. God understands your tears. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He knows all about your pain. Oh, yes, He does. He understands your tears. It's alright to cry.